Can you hear me at the back? Is that okay? Okay, good, perfect, cool. I just wanted to make sure. You cannot see me. Well, you need to come closer. Okay, today I'm going to talk about the HiPPO, highest paid person's opinion. So why it can be damaging in product development and what we can do about it. But before I get started, I would like to get an indication of the sorts of organizations that you work at. So the question for you is, how many layers are there in your organizations, from a developer all the way right up to the CEO? How many layers do you have? So for some of you, it might take a while to work it out, so I'll give you half a minute to work it out. How many layers? Okay, let's start by getting everyone's hands up in the air. Hands up in the air. Okay, that's good, cool. Okay, put your hand down. Keep your hands up. Keep your hands up to start with. Put your hand down if you have 2 or fewer layers. 2 or fewer. So this is where the CEO or the founder of the company is a developer, or the developer is reporting directly to the CEO. So not many hands are coming down. Okay? So put your hands down if you have 3 or 4 layers. Okay, a few. So you have like a middle management in between. Okay. 5 or 6. Okay. 7 or 8. Okay, those of you, the 2 of you who have your hands up, so do you have 9 or 10 layers? How many layers do you have? Oh my God, really? Normally it stops around at 10. Okay, it's even worse. How many? 50? 15. Okay. Well, you can come to me for therapy after this session if you want to. Okay, so why did I ask this question? So the more layers you have, the more HiPPOs you're likely to have in an organization. But of course, at a team level, you can still observe the HiPPO effect. That's also possible. So I would like to start by telling you a story. A few years ago, I was working at a Fortune 500 company. It was big, around 7 layers from a business analyst to the CEO. And it is a global company with 20,000 employees, hundreds of offices around the world. It was massive. And we were actually pretty good at what we did. We were considered the market leader. But not everything was bright and sunny. We had a problem. The customer experience that we provided to our customers was very poor. We had lots of manual processes and bureaucracy, which we made our customers do for us. It was easy and efficient for us, not for them. And on top of this, we were slow. When we were interviewing our customers, we asked them to describe what sort of animal we were like. They would answer, like an elephant, heavy and slow. And I promise I'm not obsessed with large mammals, by the way. So having been on the front line, dealing with customers on a day-to-day basis, I knew this problem back to front. I knew that the systems we had were broken, and I knew that we had to do something about it. So I was on a small team that worked on a new vision, and we came up with a business case. We put together a business case. We were going to transform the whole customer experience for our customers. So if we improve our customer experience, our customers would be delighted. If they are delighted, they would pay us more. That would increase revenue. Eventually, it would increase profits. Sounds easy, right? Well, of course, we needed senior executive sponsorship. We needed buy-in from someone at the C-level. So now, these are all very important people with busy schedules. They have thousands of employees reporting to them, right? And they're used to getting what they want when they want it. This was not a small decision, though. It involved investing in a new platform to deliver this whole new customer experience. It involved investing tens of millions of dollars and hundreds of people. And it was also very risky because we had a terrible track record of delivering IT projects in our organization. To really complicate things, this senior sponsor in our story was under pressure to get the numbers up. The business had been making a loss for the last couple of years, so of course, she transferred that pressure onto us, and we were asked to come up with a plan as to how we were going to deliver this project within only 9 months. We went back and we did our analysis, and our initial assessment was that it was going to take at least twice as long as she recommended. And we also pointed out that there was a massive uncertainty about the value of the things that we were trying to deliver. She, of course, ignored our advice, and the reaction we got was, maybe you're not the right person to lead this effort. Okay, so we just got squashed by the HiPPO, highest paid person's opinion. Sometimes it's subtle, sometimes it can be more direct and intentional. Either way, HiPPO can be a dangerous animal in product development. So, unfortunately, this story doesn't have a very happy ending. Not only did the project burn through $60 million, but also it took more than twice as long as the senior executive suggested, as we originally estimated. And on top of this, it was a massive waste of time, money, and talent. What we developed actually delivered very little value. So does any of this sound familiar to you guys? Okay, thumbs up from the back, okay. It sounds familiar. Well, it should sound familiar. This is basically the slightly more subtle, the corporate equivalent of the emperor's new clothes. Do you know the story? Okay, yeah. So we treat CEOs and other senior executives as corporate royalties, unfortunately. So it should sound familiar. So let's look at another more public example. So he looks very happy. Do you know who he is? Yes, exactly. Jeff Bezos, the founder and CEO of Amazon, the genius behind Amazon, right? How many of you here have bought a book on Amazon? Okay, lots of you, that's good, cool. So there was an article in Forbes recently praising the way Amazon approached innovation. A culture of experimentation, leaders at all levels are encouraged to test ideas in the marketplace, let data, not senior leadership opinions, guide implementation. Sounds great, right? Well, it seems not even Amazon are immune to the HiPPO effect. How many of you here own an Amazon Fire Phone? Wow, actually, that's quite a few numbers. That's good. So do you guys know anyone who does? Okay. Okay. So, according to an inside story, Amazon Fire Phone was a very good example of HiPPO-driven decision-making. Jeff Bezos was micromanaging the product development. He was involved in every decision, even the smallest decisions. He was very excited about one particular feature called dynamic perspective. I'm not sure if you use it. And he was very excited, but no one understood why. So when someone asked the team, why are you working on this feature? They would say, because Jeff wants it. So the Fire phone was unfortunately seen as Amazon's biggest misstep after a decade of success, and ultimately a fiasco. The Wall Street Journal review was scathing: gimmicks without much real-world usage. So, because the HiPPO wants it, if anyone suggests this on one of your projects, you will want to train your HiPPO. So what can we do about it? Perhaps there are some things that we can do in order to contain or minimize the HiPPO effects. There might be a few ways. So I'm going to quickly talk you through 5 different tactics that you might be able to use when training your HiPPO. Depending on your context, select 1 or 2 tactics, start with them, and if you need to inspect and adapt, that's fine. Try a new one if it doesn't work. So, number 1, making the problem visible. So this is about increasing the awareness of the HiPPO about the problems we see, but they may not be able to see. A good example of this is basically making it visible how long things are taking in our pipeline to be delivered. So at my former company, we measured and made visible the cycle time, end-to-end cycle time across the whole portfolio. So these are the cycle, this is basically the average cycle time of how long things were taking at the time, 150 days. And once you do the analysis, you can then ask them, like, what does good look like? We are slow. What does good look like? In here, we suggested that end-to-end cycle time of 90 days or less was okay. It was a good vision to have. So in here, we basically made visible how slow we were by using this data. Another great hack is to make visible how much work in progress we have across the whole portfolio. So in this case, we wanted to draw the attention to the upstream part of the process. As you can see, there's a lot going on in there, especially upstream of prioritization in the analysis phase. No wonder it takes a long time to get to the point of prioritization. So here, we basically said the root cause is the way we fund and approved work. And by making this visible, we changed the funding model across the whole portfolio. So originally, it was focused on heavy analysis and making sure that we select the right idea. And we were punishing people for not selecting the right idea, which made things a lot slower. Another favorite of mine is a sorely underused tool, in my view, the good old value stream mapping. How many of you have done value stream mapping here? Okay, quite a few of you, that's good. So what I love about value stream mapping is to make visible how the process actually works versus how it is intended to work. It can be very different when you put it up. So this is actually very simple to do. Take a few features that you delivered last release into production and map back the timeline until it was captured. So in this case, as you can see, there's a lot of waiting. So we wanted to draw the attention to the wait waste in the process. Then you can ask, so what can we do about it? And you can have an informed decision about your options of improvement. So we talked about making the problems visible. The second tactic, which I find very useful, is to practice the art of asking questions instead of telling. Edgar Schein defines this as humble inquiry. So to do this, you need to access your ignorance and ask for information in the least biased and least threatening way. It is about inquiring in a way to find out what is actually going on in the other person's mind. So why does this work? It works because asking temporarily empowers the other person and makes you vulnerable as the person who's asking the question. And it lowers the other person's defenses. So it creates a safe environment for the HiPPO to be able to respond. So you can try to frame the conversation as asking for help. You're not trying to tell them something. You're asking for help. So maybe it's about the value of the things that you're working on. It might be about the market, and so on. Try to use words that respectfully emphasize their experience and their knowledge. So, you're the expert on this, I'm a bit lost on this, can you help me, and so on. And humble inquiry opens the door to building trusting relationships. Because when you make yourself vulnerable, you empower the other person to help you or to hurt you. The trust builds on your side because the other person hasn't taken advantage of your situation. And the trust builds on the HiPPO side because you have shown interest and curiosity and you have listened to them about what they have to say. So we talked about humble inquiry. Another great tactic, which I really like and I always use on a day-to-day basis, is the rule of 3. So this is about coming up with at least 3 alternatives when you're discussing about something or when you're trying to come up with a solution to something. So there are a couple of ways as to how you can utilize this in your day-to-day work. So for instance, you can make it standard practice in your team meetings that you will at least consider 3 options before you settle on or before you converge on a solution. And another thing that I try to do is, for instance, when considering minimum viable products, you can encourage people to think about at least 3 ways to slice the minimum viable product before you converge and select one option. This facilitates divergent and convergent thinking. By using the rule of 3, you're actually encouraging the people to use minimum of divergent thinking before they converge onto one solution. So in a project that I worked in, we were asked to deliver a fully automated booking solution within 3 months. We knew, as my team, we were not going to be able to do that. The time frame was very tight. This deadline was set artificially by the HiPPO. And what we did, instead of going head-to-head with the HiPPO and saying it can't be done, we said we're going to come up with some options. We went back and we worked out 3 different options. Option A was it involved a manual workflow. So we had a few processes that were triggered on the website, and the rest was manual, a human workflow. The second one was where you had some automated steps and some manual steps. It was like semi-automated. And option C was the fully automated option which the HiPPO wanted. To inform the decision, of course, we estimated the business value of each of these options. And then we asked the team to estimate the duration of these options. And we realized that the last responsible moment for option C had already expired. It was too late. We were not going to be able to deliver it. And option B actually had the most return on investment because it had more value compared to option A because we had some automated steps, and it had less duration compared to option C. We presented the options to the HiPPO, and she was able to make an informed choice, and she selected option B. So by using the rule of 3, we were able to enable the HiPPO to make an informed decision. So the 4th tactic which I would like to talk about is parallel thinking. So this is a great tactic, especially in a group setting, if you want to minimize the HiPPO effect. So have any of you used the 6 hats? Edward de Bono's 6 hats? There are quite a few people, that's good. So for those of you who don't know, let me explain why this works. The traditional, more natural way of discussing things is to go head to head. So someone argues for the idea, and the other person argues against the idea. So this type of thinking was originated in ancient Greece. This was how the philosophers debated things. And the purpose was to win the idea. So you want to win the argument. And it was about adversarial confrontation, and it relied on critical thinking. The problem is that when we think, we are actually trying to do too much. So we are listening to the other people, we're trying to judge what they're saying, and in the meantime, we're trying to come up with arguments. So we are really not listening. In contrast, parallel thinking encourages us to consider each perspective separately in a sequence. You still consider all the aspects by putting on different hats separately, but it takes into consideration different angles. And you give space to different opinions, and you facilitate a healthier conversation. And by doing so, you're less likely to find yourself in a situation like this. So this is when a HiPPO speaks up and everyone anchors around that opinion. How many of you have been in a meeting where the decision was dominated by a HiPPO? Yeah, exactly. So we all end up blindly following the HiPPO. However, by using parallel thinking, you can minimize this impact. You can still have the HiPPO effect, but at least you're giving space for everyone to speak up and share their opinion, which facilitates a healthier conversation and healthier decision-making process. So you can use individual hats separately. Okay, now I'm putting my black hat on. I would like to criticize this idea that you're suggesting. So you can use it in your day-to-day conversation. And or you can actually design a sequence to achieve a specific outcome in a workshop, for instance, where you're facilitating a large group communication and discussion. So this is one of the things, one of the sequences that I use with my team. We're trying to release more frequently, and I asked the team, should we increase our release frequency? And we went through all the hats